What happens when the man you trust most becomes your greatest threat? What if your entire marriage was built on lies? Maya Carter stood frozen in the hospital corridor, clutching a single piece of paper that had just destroyed her world. Her hand instinctively moved to her swollen belly, where her baby kicked, as if sensing her distress. The insurance form in her trembling fingers showed something impossible yet undeniable. Her husband, Ethan Caldwell, was already married to someone named Victoria Hayes. 6 months pregnant and suddenly questioning everything, Maya felt her knees weaken. The glossy magazines had called them the perfect power couple. Ethan with his billion-dollar tech empire and charitable foundation, Maya with her nonprofit work and genuine warmth. Their penthouse overlooked the city. Their life seemed blessed, but now that blessing felt like a curse wrapped in expensive lies. She drove home in a daze, replaying every moment of their 2-year relationship. The whirlwind romance, his insistence on a small private wedding, the way he always handled paperwork himself, claiming he wanted to protect her from boring administrative tasks. Red flags she had painted green because she loved him. Ethan arrived home late as usual, his tailored suit perfect, his smile warm. He kissed her forehead and asked about her day. Maya forced herself to respond normally while her mind screamed. She watched him pour whiskey, discussing a merger deal, and wondered who this stranger really was. That night, lying beside him in their king-size bed, Maya pretended to sleep. Her phone hidden under her pillow displayed search results for Victoria Hayes, a beautiful blonde woman, a society wedding 5 years ago. Then nothing. No divorce records, no social media updates after 3 years ago. Just silence. Maya's investigative instincts, honed from years of research work for her nonprofit, kicked in. Something was terribly wrong. The next morning after Ethan left for his office, she went to his study, the room he always kept locked, the room she had respected as his private space. Using a hairpin, she had watched a tutorial for she opened the door. Inside, she found file cabinets and a safe. Her heart pounded as she photographed documents, finding references to multiple legal firms and confidential settlements. Then she saw a folder labeled Victoria. Her blood turned cold reading the contents. Medical records, police reports marked closed, a death certificate dated 18 months ago. Cause of death? Accidental fall. Maya stumbled backward, knowing with absolute certainty that nothing about Victoria's death was accidental, and she might be next. What if the woman you're replacing didn't leave by choice? What if you're not the only one he's fooled? Maya's hands shook as she photographed every document in Ethan's study. Victoria's death certificate listed her fall from their vacation cabin balcony as accidental, but the police report had notes scribbled in margins. Witness inconsistencies. Ethan's alibi timeline question then suddenly cleared. A detective's name repeatedly circled. Detective Morrison, now conveniently retired. She heard the front door open. Ethan was home early. Maya shoved everything back, rushing out of the study. She barely locked it before he appeared in the hallway. His eyes were cold, scanning her flushed face and disheveled hair. "Why are you upstairs? I thought you had a doctor's appointment," he asked, his voice smooth but something dangerous lurking beneath. "It got rescheduled," Maya lied, touching her belly. "The baby was doing somersaults, so I came to rest." Ethan stepped closer, studying her face. For a terrifying moment, Maya thought he knew. Then his expression softened, and he kissed her forehead. "You need to take care of yourself. Both of you." That night, Maya couldn't eat. She pushed food around her plate while Ethan discussed expanding his company into European markets. He seemed so normal, so loving. It made her skin crawl. After he fell asleep, Maya crept to the bathroom and called the number she'd found in Victoria's file. Detective Morrison answered on the third ring. "I need to know about Victoria Hayes Caldwell," Maya whispered. Silence. Then a heavy sigh. "Who is this?" "Someone who needs the truth before it's too late." Morrison agreed to meet her the next day at a diner across town. Maya told Ethan she was meeting her friend Sarah for lunch. He barely looked up from his laptop. The detective was a weathered man with tired eyes. He slid a folder across the table. "I was forced to close Victoria's case. Pressure from above. The Caldwell family owns half this city, including the police commissioner. But I kept copies because I knew something was wrong." Inside were photos. Victoria with bruises barely hidden by makeup. Hospital records for falls and accidents. Statements from friends saying she tried to leave Ethan multiple times. A handwritten note. If something happens to me, it wasn't an accident. There's more, Morrison said grimly. Victoria wasn't his first wife. There was another woman before her, Rebecca Torres. She disappeared 7 years ago. Case went cold. No body ever found. Maya felt the room spin. How many? That I know of. 3, including you. Rebecca disappeared. Victoria died. And there were rumors of others paid off, threatened into silence. Why? Maya whispered. Why does he do this? Morrison leaned forward. His family built their empire on secrets and violence. Ethan's father was investigated for multiple murders in the 80s, but nothing stuck. The Caldwells marry women for public image for control. When the women become problems, they eliminate them. Your pregnancy makes you valuable now, but after the baby comes, he didn't need to finish. Maya's phone buzzed. A text from Ethan. Where are you really? Sarah posted she's in Miami this week. Her blood froze. He was tracking her. He knew she was lying. You need to run right now, Morrison urged. But Maya looked at the folder at Victoria's terrified face in those photos. She thought of Rebecca vanished without justice. She felt her baby kick. No, she said quietly. I'm going to end this. What if every loving gesture was actually him watching you? What if escape was never really an option? Maya's heart stopped when she saw Ethan's text about Sarah being in Miami. She sat frozen in the diner booth across from Detective Morrison, realizing her husband had been tracking her every move. He knows I'm lying, Maya whispered, staring at her phone. He knows I'm here. Morrison's face hardened. Then we don't have much time. Listen carefully. Ethan's family has eliminated witnesses before. You need protection now. But Maya was already thinking 3 steps ahead. If Ethan knew she was investigating, then going into hiding would only confirm his suspicions. She needed to be smarter. She needed to make him think he still controlled her. No, Maya said firmly. I'm going back. I'll tell him I was meeting a lawyer about updating our will for the baby. Something he'd expect a pregnant woman to do. Morrison grabbed her arm. You're walking back into a trap. I've been in the trap this whole time. Now I'm going to use it against him. She drove home rehearsing her lie. When she walked through the door, Ethan was pouring scotch, his movements controlled, but she could see the tension in his shoulders. Baby, where were you really? He asked, not looking at her. And don't lie to me again. Maya set down her purse, letting her hands shake naturally. I saw an estate planning attorney. I wanted to make sure if anything happened to me, the baby would be protected. With Victoria's name on that insurance form, I got scared, Ethan. What if there are other legal complications? What if our marriage isn't valid? She watched his face carefully. The anger melted into something like relief mixed with calculation. Oh, sweetheart, he said, pulling her close. Is that what this is about? Victoria and I divorced years ago. The insurance company has outdated records. I've been meaning to fix it, but you know how bureaucracy is. He was lying smoothly, confidently. Maya leaned into his embrace, hiding her revulsion. I was so worried, she whispered. I even called some detective whose number I found online. I feel so stupid now. Ethan stiffened slightly. What detective? Morrison, I think. He was listed as handling old missing persons cases. I thought maybe he could help me understand the insurance mix-up, but he didn't answer. I'm sorry I overreacted. She felt Ethan relax. He believed her, or at least he believed she was manageable. That night, Maya lay awake beside her sleeping husband and made calls she should have made weeks ago. But then her phone buzzed with an email from an unknown sender. The subject line read, "You're the 4th wife, not the 3rd." Maya's blood ran cold. She opened the email in the bathroom, her hands trembling. Inside were photos of a young woman named Jennifer Park. Wedding photos with Ethan from 8 years ago. Then nothing. No death certificate. No disappearance report. Just a single news article about a woman's body found in a river ruled as suicide despite no history of mental illness. The email continued. I'm Ethan's younger sister, Claire. I've been trying to stop him for years. Our father trained him to do this. I have proof of everything, but I need your help. Meet me tomorrow at the address below. Come alone. Trust no one in the Caldwell family except me. They're all complicit. Maya stared at the message. It could be a trap. Claire could be working with Ethan, testing her loyalty. But the photos were real, and Jennifer Park's dead eyes haunted her. The next morning, Maya told Ethan she had a prenatal yoga class. He kissed her goodbye, seeming distracted by work calls. She drove to the address, a small cafe in a neighborhood far from their usual haunts. Claire Caldwell looked nothing like Ethan. Where he was polished and charismatic, she was sharp and exhausted. Dark circles shadowed her eyes. "Thank you for coming," Claire said, sliding a thumb drive across the table. "This contains everything. Financial records showing payments to police and judges. Audio recordings of my father ordering Victoria's death. Video of Ethan admitting to Jennifer's murder, thinking he was alone in his office. I've been secretly recording our family for 3 years." "Why?" Maya asked. "Why would you betray your own family?" Claire's eyes filled with tears. "Because Jennifer was my best friend. I introduced her to Ethan. I didn't know what he was until it was too late. She told me she was scared. She told me Ethan was becoming violent. I didn't believe her. 2 weeks later, she was dead and everyone said it was suicide. I knew better. I've been gathering evidence ever since, waiting for the right moment." "Why me? Why now?" "Because you're pregnant and that gives you leverage. Ethan won't kill you until after the baby's born. That gives us time. And because you're smart, Maya, smarter than the others. I've been watching you investigate. You're careful, methodical. Together we can end this." Maya looked at the thumb drive. "If we do this, your entire family goes down. Your inheritance, your name, everything." Claire smiled bitterly. "Good. The Caldwell name deserves to burn." They spent 3 hours planning. Claire had FBI contacts who'd been trying to build a case against the family for years. With Maya's insider access and Claire's evidence, they finally had enough. But as Maya drove home, she noticed a black SUV following her. Her phone rang. Unknown number. "Maya Carter, you're making dangerous friends," a man's voice said. "Claire Caldwell is mentally unstable. Did she tell you she's been in psychiatric treatment? That she has paranoid delusions about our family?" Maya's stomach dropped. "Who is this?" "Richard Caldwell, Ethan's father. Turn around right now and come to my office. We need to talk about your future and your baby's future. Because trust me, girl, you don't want to be on the wrong side of this family." The line went dead. The SUV was still following, getting closer. Maya had walked into something far bigger and more dangerous than one murderous husband. She'd stumbled into a family that had gotten away with evil for generations, and they knew she was a threat. Her phone buzzed again. A text from Claire. "They know we met. Run, now." But Maya looked at her reflection in the rearview mirror, seeing her terrified face and her pregnant belly, and she made a choice. She wasn't running anymore. She turned the car toward Richard Caldwell's office, ready to walk into the lion's den, because sometimes the only way to kill a monster is to get close enough to strike its heart. What if the only way to survive is to become as dangerous as him? What if your unborn child gives you a power you never knew existed? Maya returned home, her heart hammering, but her mind crystalline clear. Ethan was waiting in the living room, his expression unreadable. He held her phone, the one she thought was in her purse. "You dropped this in the car," he said slowly. "I saw Detective Morrison's number in your recent calls." The air turned electric with danger. Maya forced herself to stay calm, channeling every ounce of strength for her baby. "I know about Victoria," she said quietly, "and Rebecca. I know everything." Ethan's mask finally cracked. His charming smile disappeared, replaced by something cold and reptilian. He stood walking toward her with predatory grace. "You're smarter than the others. I'll give you that. Victoria was too trusting, Rebecca too naive. But you, Maya, you have that investigative mind. It's what attracted me to you. It's also what makes you dangerous." "Why do you do this?" Maya demanded, backing toward the kitchen. "You have everything: money, power, respect." Ethan laughed bitterly. "You think this is about choice? My father groomed me for this. The Caldwell men have one purpose: build the empire, protect the legacy, eliminate threats. My grandfather did it. My father perfected it. Women are tools, Maya. For image, for heirs, for control. When they stop being useful, they become liabilities." "I'm carrying your child," Maya said, her voice breaking. "And after you give birth, you'll disappear like the others. The grieving widower will raise our child alone. Very tragic, very profitable for sympathy in business circles. He moved closer, and Maya grabbed a knife from the kitchen block. Her hands shook, but her resolve didn't. I've already sent everything to the FBI, she lied. Every document, every photo, Morrison's testimony. If anything happens to me, it all goes public. Ethan froze, then smiled. You're bluffing. You've had, what, 12 hours? Not enough time to build a real case. You came home because you have nowhere else to go. He was right, and he knew it. Maya felt tears burn her eyes. Then her phone rang. Sarah's number. But Maya knew Sarah was in Miami. Ethan grabbed the phone, answering it. His face went white. Mr. Caldwell, this is FBI Agent Chen. We have warrants for your arrest for bigamy fraud, conspiracy to commit murder, and the suspected murder of Victoria Hayes Caldwell. Your property is surrounded. Come out with your hands visible. Ethan turned to Maya, his expression pure hatred. What did you do? Maya smiled through her tears. I didn't spend 12 hours. I spent 3 weeks. Since the day I found that insurance form I've been planning. Morrison wasn't retired, he was undercover. Every conversation you and I had was recorded. Your study was bugged. Your computer was hacked. That folder I found? You were meant to find me finding it. I needed your confession, and you just gave it to me on tape. She pulled a tiny recording device from her necklace. Ethan lunged at her, but the front door burst open. Agents swarmed in, tackling him to the ground. Maya collapsed against the wall, clutching her belly as her baby kicked frantically. Agent Chen approached, helping her to a chair. You did good, Mrs. Carter. We've been investigating the Caldwell family for years, but could never get close enough. Your evidence broke the case wide open. Through the window, Maya watched them load Ethan into a police car. He stared at her through the glass, his eyes promising murder. But Maya stared back unafraid. She had won. There's something else, Agent Chen said hesitantly. We found Rebecca Torres. She's alive in a psychiatric facility in Oregon. Ethan's father had her committed under a false identity after she tried to expose them. She's been there for 7 years. Maya closed her eyes, feeling tears of relief. At least one woman had survived. Legacy broken. What happens when the monster finally falls and you're left standing in the ruins? 3 months later, Maya sat in a courtroom holding her newborn daughter, Emma. The tiny girl had her mother's eyes and, thankfully, nothing of her father's darkness. Across the room, Ethan Caldwell sat in an orange jumpsuit. His empire crumbled, his family name destroyed. The trial had revealed horrors beyond Maya's imagination. The Caldwell family had been involved in murders, bribery, human trafficking, and fraud for 3 generations. Ethan's father was arrested. His uncle fled the country. Assets were frozen. The billion-dollar empire built on blood and lies was being dismantled piece by piece. Rebecca Torres testified from a video link, still recovering from years of psychological torture. She described how Ethan had isolated her, how she'd discovered his family's crimes, how his father had drugged her and committed her to silence her. Her testimony was devastating. Victoria's family finally got justice. The medical examiner reopened her case, confirming she'd been pushed, not fallen. Witnesses came forward once the Caldwell power broke their silence, no longer costing them everything. Maya testified last. She described the manipulation, the lies, the moment she realized her husband was a predator. She held Emma close as she spoke, and several jurors wiped tears. The verdict came swiftly, guilty on all counts. Ethan Caldwell was sentenced to life in prison without parole. As guards led him away, he looked at Maya one final time. No anger now, just emptiness. Outside the courthouse, Rebecca waited. She looked fragile but healing. The 2 women embraced, understanding, passing between them without words. Thank you for not running, Rebecca whispered. Thank you for fighting. Thank you for surviving, Maya replied. You gave me hope that escape was possible. They sat together on the courthouse steps, watching the sunset. Emma cooed in Maya's arms. Rebecca smiled at the baby, touching her tiny hand gently. What will you do now? Rebecca asked. I'm starting a foundation, Maya said, to help women escape dangerous marriages, to investigate when authorities won't, to make sure no one else becomes a Caldwell victim. Victoria's parents are funding it. We're calling it the Legacy Breakers Foundation. 3 months later, the foundation opened its doors. Maya stood at the podium holding Emma, addressing a room full of survivors, advocates, and journalists.